All right, welcome everybody. Good afternoon to another episode of the Pros Talk. We're doing another far reach per se to Ottawa with some virtual guests today. I've got John and Jennifer here with AI Guides. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hi there.
So, AI seems to be a hot topic. It's up and coming. I always love these topics that are coming at us a little bit more and more, like a slow juggernaut almost. But I mean, we've got poster child Elon kind of driving the ship right now. But what's Ottawa got going on? Guys, tell me first, what is AI Guides?
Well, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
So AI Guides, we're a consulting shop. And the idea that brought me and Jen together is that many organizations try to get started with AI, but they often end up failing. Right. And what we realized was there was a problem that we could solve. They needed help earlier in the planning process to figure out, well, what's the right type of AI for them? And so if we can talk with decision makers early in the process, we can get them on that path to being able to leverage the power and potential of AI. So we're strategy consultants to help them pick the AI that makes the most sense for them.
So I guess then it's not so much that you're per se developing AI, it's you have the intellect and the knowledge on how to apply specific AIs to said businesses as that consultant. Is that right?
Exactly. There are so many choices around AI, and especially for non-technical leaders, it can be a bit overwhelming to figure out, like, they've heard about Elon Musk, or right, they've heard that they should be doing something about AI, but the terminology and the choices can be overwhelming. And so we are who you call if you think, I'd like to get started on AI, but I'm not sure where to begin. And what we have is a network or an ecosystem of different providers that we can point you to. So like, if it's like doing a house renovation and you need an electrician and you don't know, like, who do you call for that? Well, I know somebody, right? And get connected to the right person to make sure they're going to do the right job for you. Well, it's a bit like that, but we'll connect you with the right type of solution. It might be something off the shelf, or it might be custom, or it might be a combo, and we can help you sort that out.
That's pretty cool. And then, we spoke at the start kind of, and your background with politics and business. And then Jen, we've already confirmed that Jen will be the AI tech person today. And again, I think I'm one of those people that as I learn about this industry, I stumble, because I really do. I start into on the fringe and it literally scares me backwards. So I guess, Jen, how do you soften that blow, having all the background knowledge that you have in AI, to make somebody that may not feel more comfortable?
I think that is a good question, because I do sometimes, when I tell people, oh, this is my expertise, they kind of go, yeah. I'm like, don't worry, I am not the AI. You do not have to back away from me. But it's a bit of an intimidating area. I think not just because of what it could do for the world, humanity, all those things, but also just in terms of getting into the nitty-gritty technical pieces of it. And so the big thing that I say, and this is why John and I really connected so strongly with the AI Guides, is that I believe that the best way to deal with AI is to think about it in human terms, and think about it not as this big piece of sort of scary technology, but realize that artificial intelligence has a lot in common with human intelligence. And so if we understand how, something about ourselves and how we think, we can actually map that on to understanding how artificial intelligence works, and also how it can kind of fit into our lives and start working with us.
No, I think that's awesome because that's, I take an approach, especially over the past 2 years, dealing with the political end of things and the rationality of human decision, which is what we've been seeing no matter where you go in the world to deal with the pandemic. But AI is kind of mimicked after that kind of intuition, like we go down logical paths and it's options A through Z or A to C, whatever it is. Am I wrong there? Like that's pretty much the understanding of it?
Yeah, you're very much right. I mean, I think the way I sometimes describe it is we can think of intelligence as this really big umbrella,
Right.
and then human intelligence and artificial intelligence, they both fit under that big umbrella. And so when we look at how children learn and we study that, it's very much the same way that some types of AI learn, right? And so yeah, like the same quirky things we see human intelligence doing, we can sometimes see AI doing that as well, and often entertaining ways. And so, yeah, you can really think about it as just another type of intelligence with the same decision-making issues, the same applications of how logical am I going to be versus not logical that comes up with human intelligence.
So
you just build it a little differently.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's curious to me, and I'm gonna play kind of the advocate that knows nothing throughout this whole conversation, I think, because I don't. But do you find then, if you make that comparison to watching how children learn, and we all know that as a species, children are developing faster, right? Like I was, let's say at the age of 3, progressively generations are picking up things faster and smarter. Are they seeing the same improvements with AI with us being so new and fresh in it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you've really picked up on that, because what's making the difference? Why are we as humans learning faster? Well, we call it the information age,
yes,
right? So we've got more and more and more information, and that's accelerating how quickly we learn as individuals and as a society. And it's exactly the same thing. That's why we're seeing AI take off. It's an information age. There's more and more data, and the more data you can feed to the AI, the faster it's going to learn, and the faster we're going to get at building better AI. I mean, John often talks about this idea of exponential growth, or this exponential speed at which things change. And you can see how there's some bootstrapping there where, we're getting tons of information, we're getting smarter. That's helping us build smarter machines. The machines are getting smarter. Woo, off it goes.
So John, touch on that. What's this like this great implosion or explosion of knowledge speed that you're seeing?
Sure. So our brains aren't really wired to understand exponential growth. And by that, I mean doubling. So if you think about AI capabilities, they're roughly doubling every year or so. And a way to think about the difference between linear growth and exponential growth is to think about taking a walk or strides. So if I say take 30 linear steps, so each one of your strides is about a meter, then after you take 30 steps, you will have traveled 30 meters.
Correct.
But if it was to take 30 exponential steps, your first step is 1 meter, your second step is 2 meters, third is 4, and so forth. And by the time you get to 30, you've actually taken 1 billion steps in total. And that's 27 times around Earth.
Right.
And the other thing is, most of that journey happened in the last couple of steps. It was like the last step was 500 million meters, right? So it's just the slope of the curve just keeps getting more and more steep. So if you feel like things are changing fast with AI now, well, in a year, it's going to be twice as fast. And a year after that, it's going to be 4 times as fast, and so on and so on.
And probably with a different factor added to it, right? Because as much as AI is learning exponentially, and again, I'm posing it as a question. So you're saying that you're going exponentially, but as humans, we are learning a bit different. So as much as AI is taking a leap in that second step at a multiple factor of 2, humans are starting to realize how to put this stuff together and getting more data. So we're at, maybe a 1.2x as we grow. So is that what you're kind of saying? That's kind of force feeding this thing into there's no leaps or bounds or limits that this could possibly go to?
Yeah.
I mean,
Jen, you go.
Yeah, so I go. I was going to say, I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, so we don't,
right.
So, we don't know for sure. And I can tell you some stories as well about times when AI did not go as expected in broad or narrow terms. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's a feedback there for sure.
Yeah, and it's why for the diehards that have watched the podcast throughout, I refer to one of the biggest statements I heard from a podcaster with Joe Rogan, and he made reference once to time, like where we are today to where we were, but it's literally like we were monkeys like 5 people ago, or like he always makes reference to terms that people think it's been a long time because our life is on average 80 years to 100 years, but really that's not that long. That's 5 people ago when you go back half a century. So just reverse that philosophy to AI, where you guys are saying that half a century is only going to take possibly 2 steps with AI because it's doing this exponential growth.
Yeah, there's this futurist based out of Silicon Valley, and what he says is we should expect in the next century, so in the next 100 years, 10,000 years of technological development.
And you know what? It doesn't sound crazy to me. Like, it just doesn't. Like I heard on the news the other day, they were talking about, what is it? By 2024, they're going to have a production crew up in space. They want to have and think about it too. We're sending billionaires up in rockets now to touch atmosphere. We could sit for hours and debate whether that was space or not. But these guys are going higher than anyone else. On their own bill. And then flip side, I forget, maybe one of but like the first time that NASA shot a spaceship up was in the 70s, early 70s, 60s. So 30, 40 years ago. And it only took us 30 years to realize we could make it with reusing parts. And that's Elon. That's crazy. So AI is actually going to hopefully speed that development up. So how do we bring that global mentality? Like we've touched on kind of AI and the growth of it. So how does that help people in Brockville and Ottawa and surrounding areas? How do we apply that to small business? Jen or John, or both, weigh in on that, please. Like how do we take this? We're talking dreaming of going to the moon and exponential growth. Where does small business come in at this point?
Sure, I can start on this. The one way to think about AI is that it is similar or analogous to electricity. If you were to travel back in time, 150 years ago, and someone said, I've invented electricity, and the question from a small business was, okay, I understand this electricity. How does that apply to me? Will it help me? And looking back now, it's like, well, obviously electricity helps every small business. So electricity powers things. AI makes them smarter. And so the question is, how can you make things smarter in your business? And so I think that's the starting point. Jen, anything you want to add on that?
I think that's exactly it. It's about I like to use the example when you plug a lamp in to a socket with electricity. Obviously, it lights up. You plug the lamp into an AI socket, and you have a lamp that just doesn't just light up, but knows when to turn on and off because it's smarter.
Colors, time, schedule, everything, right? And we're seeing that now almost. I think the nice part is the way AI and tech have been introduced. It's almost like they're giving, a monkey a banana. They know what to do with the banana, but they've just given him a banana that's purple, or turns colors. So we're seeing the Home Depots, the home hardwares with smart tech. And these are probably more powerful than people realize, but yet we're sitting there with a light switch as the glorified monkeys, right? Going, oh, it goes on and off and it knows when to go on, or I can turn it on and off my phone. People think that's amazing. So is that kind of that soft introduction that the entrepreneur has to realize that's AI coming at them? And there's way more, like they're still on step 1 at 1 meter.
Sure.
And meanwhile, it's already at 1,000 steps, but we don't know it.
Yeah. And so I guess it's a bit of a challenge for the small business person to say, okay, so, I mean, it can apply to anything. I mean, that doesn't really help me narrow down, like, how do I make this practical? Yeah. And so we like to think, well, a good place to start is like, don't worry about the tech, first of all, like put the tech aside.
Right.
But if you're a small business, a good first question to ask yourself is, what's a problem worth solving? And so, like, in your business, is there, look at it from the point of view of your customer. Is there a process that you have that, you know, is important to the customer and that gets repeated? And if you were to introduce AI into that process, could you make it better from the customer's point of view? And if you can introduce AI at that one point and make that a little bit better, then think about other areas where you can add AI into your business. So as a bit of a snowball, the importance of AI in your company can grow over time. You can take more things that are being done by AI to help your customers. So it's like automate a process. Or another way to think about it is, do you have a product, and can you make that product smarter by including some AI in that? So it's start with the strategic question first, and then find a place where AI can help.
I think that's cool because, I mean, most of us probably wouldn't think that AI, let me rephrase that. Most of us wouldn't think we're using AI yet, but correct me if I'm wrong, but would CRM management stuff not be pretty much all AI at this point?
I mean, a lot of there'll absolutely be AI built into that. So, you're right. People are using AI all the time on their phone for.
Well, yeah, if they have an iPhone, if they have an Apple, like if you have an iPhone, I mean, I know it was even introduced back when BlackBerry was around.
Yeah.
Like BlackBerry and Apple, like this is what they're like. There's stuff on our phone that's not activated yet that they're just waiting for us to be smart enough to use, right?
They want to push that.
Yeah, it's in the next. It's in the next midnight update.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's really, I think when people, I don't know what AI is, I always say, well, okay, like, do you ever go on Amazon and you get these nice recommendations for books and videos and stuff? And I'm like, guess what? That's not a human making those recommendations.
You mean that Jeff Bezos isn't sitting there listening to every one of us?
Yeah. Oh, this person would love this book. Yes, it's not Jeff.
He makes the call.
It's, yeah, exactly. No, and the only way that that's possible, again, John often talks about scaling and how AI is really great for scaling. And if you think about that example, there's no way a person could, every moment of every day, 2 a.m., it's recommending you these books, right? Whereas the AI is like, okay, I can basically the recommender AI can be like, no worries, people, wherever you are, whenever you are, I gotcha. Here's a book you would like.
Well, it's pretty cool because as we spoke in the intro, when you guys were kind of asking what the approved professionals is, I'm one guy with 3 support staff and 5 executive. We run this
Mm-hmm.
company, right? That is out of Brockville. So, we're huge in AI in Brockville. It's
Yeah.
we're lost in time back here. But that was sarcasm. But at some point, like when John was asking me, there's 86 municipalities. There's that means 86 divisions. That's almost that AI style growth, because Dave as a person is not going to be able to manage 84 divisions with 100 to 200 to 300 members and maintain all that data. At some point, Dave has to work smarter, not harder. And I guess that's kind of the whole principle behind AI now coming in to ease that pain.
Yeah. So take your use case. So you're operating in 5 municipalities now, and there's no reason in principle why that couldn't expand to 10,000 communities across North America, right?
Right.
And so how can AI help scale that growth? And so there's a few ways. So for example, like as you start moving into different communities, you'll have resources that are standard, like common questions that come up, right?
Correct.
And there's going to be some variation. The questions for Brockville are going to be different than Memphis if you get
exactly
down there.
Exactly.
So it's the same. Like I need to know about my local government, but if you want to get the right community, so you can create smarter chatbots that what they do is they read your material, your documentation. And then when the person comes to your website, just by typing in plain language, I'm from Memphis and I need to know who my local counselor is so that I can lodge a complaint, that you can get chatbots that are smart enough to be able to understand the free form text from a person and then help them find the document that they need. So you can think of this, like Jen said, of having a member on your team. So instead of having one person at a call center who says, okay, you're in Memphis, then here's our list, and referring them to it, is you teach the AI that job. And then it can just scale and answer questions from people all across North America instead of, so that's one thing you could do.
That is exactly what I wanted to hear. Cause I mean, we're going to talk more off the podcast, because obviously exponential growth is kind of what I'm targeting. So we're a match made in heaven. But you brought up something that's key, because we come from this, as much as AI is moving quick, and this question might be for Jen because it'll be a bit more technical, but we're still humans. So Jen, how much are they slowing down the answer bots when people type in these smart chats to show those 3 dotted lines like they're texting? So they must be slowing AI down to make people feel smarter.
Well, that is a piece where, because this is really important. I'm really, really glad you brought this up, because for us, the big thing for us is we like to think of AI as working with humans and helping humans. And the big thing for us is something called augmented intelligence, which is like, we're all getting smarter together. We already talked about this a little bit. And a big piece of that is, what is the interface like between the AI and the human? And it's not like it's cheating to say, oh, the human's working at this speed, the AI is working at that speed. So yeah, maybe we need to have a little bit slower, because it's true that AI might be able to do certain things faster, like too fast to be useful in that example. And there's something, I think, maybe, I don't know if you've heard the term uncanny valley, which is a term for when AI are almost like humans, but not quite. And that really puts people off. So you have to kind of work around that.
Well, yeah, because if we're going to migrate to a society where, again, I think we're lucky in our generation age that we've experienced the offshores call centers, but we're also experiencing Meta, which all the chats coming through Meta are all automated. Every business that has a Facebook page is offered to get some free AI to expedite responses after hours. But I've noticed that the 3 little dots, as if somebody's typing, is there. So is that like the AI giving us a warm human hug?
Yeah, absolutely. That's good interface design.
Yeah.
That's basically saying, no, we need to understand what the humans need. We need to understand what the AI are doing. And you need that good interface to have that good partnership and have that good communication, which is key to any relationship. Communication is key.
Well, yeah, because I'm thinking about it for myself. Again, in an older town, a slower society, I mean, I assume the AI knows the answer to the question once I've keyed it in because it's moving at lightning computer speed, but it doesn't slap the answer up the second I hit enter. So as programmers, that's an option to add that, like you said, maybe not to be so robotic and to be at the same speed as current human thought.
Yeah, well, and I think it can go both ways because I think sometimes AI can do things faster than people. I mean, but sometimes AI it's sifting through like huge amounts of data. And so it is a little slower. So kind of depends on the use case. Which could it be doing it faster? Often, yes. But sometimes it needs a lot of time to chew through a lot of its data.
And I guess that's the key to where you guys come in, right? Like this is where John was talking. This is where you two find that right lane, find the right piece of tech, and then the right recommendation. So like that's what AI Guides is doing then. It's you guys are almost kind of matchmaking to the AI, to the business, but also probably one step further to the customer that the business is trying to attract.
Bingo. That's it. You got it exactly.
Yeah,
And,
no, that's cool. And so it's got to be an interview process.
Oh yeah.
Like you've got to know,
Yeah.
Are they talking to seniors? Are they talking to youth? Are they talking to middle age? I guess the same boat as we're in with your professionals where like, are you a farmer community? Are you a tech community? Are you a banker? You know, that must be a lot of footwork then at this point for you guys.
What we do is there's 3 steps that people go through. And so the first step is chatting with the senior people. And the question is essentially like, what is it that you want to do? Like, what's your problem? What's the problem?
Well, they want to make more money.
Yeah.
I knew the answer to that one.
That's a default answer.
And so the question there is, does AI even have the potential to solve this? Is this something that is even in the ballpark? So, and for people, it's new. So trying to get their head around where AI can fit and where it can't, and what's going to have the highest return. So that's step 1 is what can AI do theoretically? And then what we have to do is take a look at their environment. Well, we have to look at sort of what sort of data they have, what sort of infrastructure they have, and also their culture. How do things work in this organization, and how do you want it to fit in? How's AI going to be a good teammate for you? And then knowing where they want to go and what the constraints are, then we can go out and do that matchmaking. Say, for you, this makes sense. So what makes sense for one company may not make sense for another small business.
No, and that's kind of what I was hitting you hit the nail on the head there. Is it's got to be unique to every single conversation, because and then how much pressure is on you guys still at this point then? As much as everyone knows AI's there, everyone, as we said, is using it daily on these wonderful little devices. But how much stigma is still there on price? How affordable is this thing on a general scale? I know we're talking corporate to mom and pop shops, but let's talk more Ottawa, Brockville centric. Are you still battling? I assume it's cheaper than people think.
Yeah.
And what kind of battle to stigma do you have on that topic?
It's absolutely a consideration, right? And certainly for small business, every dollar matters. And so they want to make sure that they're getting good value. And so part of it is figuring out something is it has to be in proportion to the value that they're going to get from it. So if you're able to take your business from 5 to 10,000, then and that seems realistic, then you're less price sensitive because it is transforming the way that your business model is going to evolve in a way that you didn't expect. So if we're at that, then that's one conversation. If it's around, well, I can slightly improve my customer service, which is not too bad. And, do I really want to make the investment? But in terms of like, what does it cost? Sometimes these, you can get simple changes, sometimes for even under $100 a month to get some of these subscriptions. But for some of the bigger ones, it's thinking along the lines of maybe $1,000 or $2,000 on a monthly subscription. But that has to be balanced against what are you saving on the labor side, right?
Yeah, exactly where I was going to go is you almost have to talk to that senior rep and say, what's half of your week for what's half a week every week for 1 month cost you?
Yeah.
And AI represents that. Is it less than or more than the subscription?
Yeah. And so those are for the off the shelf things. And so off the shelf is great. You can plug it in and you know it's going to work and it's going to solve this niche problem around like smart chatbot or something like that. And you've got a high chance of success. If you need something that's more custom, then probably you have to think about, well, we've got to bring in somebody from outside, and then you're starting to do a project on your own. Then you should probably budget like at least $10,000 to get something up to see if it's going to work. Test that, and if it's generating value for you at that point, then invest more in it. But it's not
almost like app building.
Yeah. And that's where I'm going to jump in for just a sec, because what John is describing is one of the big reasons why I started working with John in AI Guides and why I really wanted to, because prior to this, I was one of these people building these bespoke solutions. So that I want an AI that will do this. So I'll just start pulling stuff out of my garage and start, building up the AI. But it's when you go that route, it is very R&D. It is much more kind of, will this work? But John and I were sitting on a park bench one day, and he sort of goes, "Well, I'm really interested in off-the-shelf AI," and I was like, "Really?" And the thing is, this field is moving so quickly. I was like, "I guess that's a thing now, eh?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's a thing." And so then I said, "Yeah, this is great," because the off-the-shelf option, which is pretty new, does give it basically makes this a tool that's feasible for so many more people and for small businesses. That is a new option relative to that sort of more big business R&D bespoke option, which is still an option and increasingly an option that's available to everyone. But the off-the-shelf offerings are making things really interesting now.
And the off-the-shelf must make it easier, because when you guys approach a business like myself, really the goal is to prove the quickest route that this works. Because if you go and spend, I assume, 7 to 8 months developing a custom piece of software first, you're going to bleed the fund and hope there's no hiccups. Because if there's hiccups, you're going to lose that client. Whereas an off the shelf, if it's just a CRM or a chatbot, like John's saying, off the shelf, you can show them the minutes or hours that are being saved on an admin, which in my mind right away screams cash positive, right? Anytime you're saving the principal or the frontline admin's time, you're making money. So is that kind of the proper route, John and Jen? Is that the route you want to go, is kind of show them that here's a small little taste and it works and it improves the operation. Now let's talk bigger picture. So do you flow all the way through to make sure that they're constantly improving?
Yeah. And so we're, this is a new offering for us, right? So it's meeting with people, figuring out what their priorities are, and then implementing that. But yeah, absolutely, we'll want to have that relationship with them. And part of our positioning is that we're vendor agnostic. And so most consultants in the space are tied to a particular solution. So they are hammers in search of nails. So if you came to us and said, I've got this great idea, I want to expand from 5 to 10,000, and we sat down with you and thought AI is not a good fit, then we'll just tell you, because we don't have we don't have a vested interest in on anything on the back end. It's a vested interest in making sure that you get the right choice. And if we can point you to something that's not AI, but allows you to do what you want to do for less money and less effort, we'll point that out to you.
I always find it amazing with human culture, and what you just said, John, is amazing for me, because, you know, if you talk about the origination of communication with humans and the old operator, the lady sitting in the desk connecting all the wires into the right things, and it's amazing that for decades, if businesses were all about aligning themselves with that one product, that, you know, the hammer's looking for nails, and ignored all options of being the operator girl that connects you to every nail. And so that's, you guys are connecting everyone to whatever best fits the problem.
Yeah.
That's, so you're the operators of AI.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
I'm sorry, Jen. I'm quirky sometimes with my analogy.
No, I love it.
But I'm sitting here.
AI operators.
I'm sitting here seeing the operator plugging
great.
all these cables, and John's like, "Well, we're not going to just, you know, we're not just Bell. We're going to connect you with Rogers, Telus, Bell, and all of them based on best fit." And as we evolve as humans, like that's so key to make sure that the path of least resistance. It's not whoever has the biggest advertising budget. That may not be the best route for you.
Exactly. And this goes back to the question we had with Jen's point of, like, part of the reason that we wanted to get together. And Jen, you can talk about, so you get onto projects, and the value of getting in earlier.
Yeah, I'm going to jump, because so I've done quite a number of AI projects where it was people would bring me in and sort of say, can you build us something? But there were always vendors around. And not surprisingly, vendors believe in their own product. And so they're very invested in saying, our product is the best product. You should buy our product. And I would just see a lot of these projects right from the get-go get oriented in directions that were not leading them to success, pushed that way, you know, from eager vendors and other factors. And that was a huge motivator for me to be like, no, like, people really need somebody to get in there and get in between right at the beginning of that process to make sure people really are oriented initially in the right direction. And it's a complex landscape. And so you do really need someone to kind of keep you from getting stuck in the swamps.
And one that, like again, I'm sitting here listening. I mean, I already joked, I think, before we went on there, that my kids will be surprised that I'm sitting here having a discussion with some AI experts, because it's not my thing, which I love, but I'm enjoying the conversation. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things that if you're constantly in your field, Jen, being pulled by vendors' direction, is that, I guess, in the grander scheme, is that a stumbling block because it's taking you off of something you might figure out through error? Because, if you know what I mean, are they putting blinders on you almost, and it's slowing the advancement a bit?
Just in terms of them being kind of,
like where you say it's going off on an avenue, are you missing a chance to possibly stumble onto something?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is you do need to have a bit of an explorer's mind at the outset, know what's out there, know what makes sense. And if you get locked in, I mean, we talk about vendor lock-in, right? They want to get you locked in. And so we want to say, well, before you take that step. And I mean, I will say, like, I don't want to be too negative, but we talk about the hype train a bit in AI. There's a lot of hype out there, and there's some people that, you know, maybe let's just say over optimistic about what their products can do as vendors. And so, we also want to play that role of saying, because I usually, I think John will back me up on this. He shows me a website and I'd say, okay, this is the technology that they're using under the hood. This is how it's working. And we want to be able to say, okay, like, I have a sense of what is generally feasible on the AI front. So I can sort of say, based on what I know is feasible and what they're saying, let's sort of read between the lines there, and also read between the lines for our clients as well.
I think that's cool because in my industry with architecture, obviously the metaverse type thing is prevalent. So I know my son is designing all of our 3D stuff. I'm a 2-generation firm, and he's actually been picking. I didn't know this till the other day. It just triggered when you said that, Jen. He was talking with a developer, his website developer, and he's trying to make sure that he's setting himself up to be able to sell the files for houses in this 3D realm.
Yeah.
And he's picking principals, almost picking vendors, because Unreal handles one of the 3D graphics that we have.
Perfect example.
And these guys have been, like, I was playing their video games way back when. The Unreal Engine is one of the main drivers of everything 3D right now. And
it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, and these guys are behind games like Doom, and Unreal was a game. Like, this is archaic old 2D video games, to the point these guys are in architecture with Autodesk and everything else now. And my son says literally every house he's drawing could be uploaded into this metaverse. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And I will say that, so we talked about the computer age, we talked about the information age, and now I like to use, I'm sure I'm not the only person that's using this term, the digital age.
Yes.
Because everything is becoming digital, and the metaverse, I've given workshops in VR recently, which has been a lot of fun. And everything is becoming digital, and everything is being uploaded into like the digital universe, and it has different rules, and we're about to experience living with those different rules. So as you say, everything can be digitized, uploaded, and talk about data. Woo. Talk about exponential increase in data. That's one of the things that's going to push it.
And are we ready for that kind of data? Like, do we have it? Like, I don't mean are we ready as humans, because I think, like I said, these chimpanzees can scroll on Facebook for days on end. I'm not one of those people, but I mean, I know it's there. Everyone can. But is we're talking rural internet upgrades for small businesses where, like we experienced, like the Eron project, the Ontario was looking at giving everyone rural broadband internet to still what I think was not enough. But yet we've got people like Elon that are promising higher than what our own Ontario government was going to give us as basic.
Oh yeah. Well, every time we think we have enough bandwidth, within a year, we're going to be like, we need about 1,000 times that.
Well, and I think it goes to John's original comment, right? Like that exponential growth. Like I think all three of us were on a 386 computer at one point, right? Would we be sitting here having a Zoom call on a 386 4 meg laptop with a Ethernet, or I guess a printer? It was a serial cable to connect computers back then. Like, we were using serial ports.
Yeah, well, and this is a really important thing to bring up, because there is a disparity in terms of bandwidth, in terms of all of these things, right? I mean, and we can think back, remember the modem? All this stuff. We have moved on from that. Most people have, at least, but this is the thing, like, it's really important. John and I are all about access. Everybody should have access to these technologies. And bandwidth is a part of that. Not everybody has good bandwidth. How do we get the bandwidth so that everybody can participate, right?
I'll make your day. People still in my world with architecture, because we're so heavy paper, I bet you 70 to 80% still use a fax. And every time I get asked for my fax number, I tell them I haven't bought one yet because I'm still mailing letters carved in rock. Like it's stone tablets.
Shipping them out there.
Yeah, I just literally there it is. Like it is, because it's really, as much as they think I'm being sarcastic, I thought they were being sarcastic with a fax.
Right.
Like, I mean, we just don't do them anymore. And it's crazy, but I'm always like you say, I agree. I think infrastructure and bandwidth, and as like, we almost can't leave somebody behind as things grow. And we learned that through COVID, right? Like, how many grandma and grandpas got taught FaceTime because they were in, or had to learn an iPad. Like, it's crazy. And
I mean, for all the many challenges of COVID, it has had an effect on getting people, as you're saying, into that digital space. It was a huge push that front.
As much as it's been negative, a lot of my conversations with it, and I'm still very hopeful, I think the past 22, 24 months, I think are going to give us, like John said, like we're not taking a 1 meter stride. I think it's really forced small business and technology and infrastructure to pick up the pace a little bit. Maybe we got winded, and this 2 years was a pause to advance ourselves and to learn, because I know as a business advocate, we've been telling businesses to, now's the time to improve all those little idiocies and procedures and in your guys, like, bring AI in. Now's the time to test it. You're not running at 100%. You're running at 50%. You've got downtime, probably a little bit of capital based on grants or loans that are available to improve. Now's the time to ruffle the feathers a little bit in business and get moving forward. Because when we come out of this, I imagine it's going to be just full gas pedal.
Yeah.
We'll have to.
Oh yeah.
There's one person that's Peter Diamandis. So he runs Singularity University. So he works with a lot of organizations and entrepreneurs on technological change and exponential growth. And he's been saying by 2030, there will be two types of businesses: those that are using AI and those that are bankrupt. Yeah.
And I can, like, just in talking with you guys, and I always talk to people and I sponge a little bit and listen. And I think you're right. I think those off the shelf AIs to wet the whistle are really just, you know, those senior partners that maybe are a little skeptic or scared of this enough to prove them where their substance is, for the most part, not being negative, but bottom dollar, right? We need to know bottom dollar. Anyone who's, I would say, in a partnership in a company that has, I don't know, 5 to 15 years left, probably wants to make sure there's something for them to retire off or sell off of. Whereas the young guns are like, we need sustainability. So we want to make sure the customer and the product are as the best they can be. So they're probably more inclined. They're the ones you probably want to get in front of, John, is these young, hungry execs or business owners that are like, we want to take that little Brockville business and make it look like it's a Toronto medium-sized business. That's cool. I'm so glad that you reached out. I love it. I think it's awesome. So where does the company, where's the strategy right now? I'm going to ask two questions. One, where's the strategy now to reach out and get this education? Because I assume, I picture a bad episode of Shark Tank or Dragon's Den where Kevin O'Leary's telling you guys, yeah, but how much is it going to cost to educate the consumer? Right? So what's it cost? Like, where do you guys go to educate the consumer that $100 to $1,000 a month, that's pretty affordable in the grander scheme of things?
We've been reaching out, but we're offering a series of webinars so that people who want to learn a little bit more can come to one of our webinars and just sit in and get a little bit of a presentation. And then if they want to have a free first chat with us, then that's absolutely allowed. So we call it a breakthrough call, where we can talk a little bit about your business. What is it that you're trying to do? And we think that one of the big first barriers to people with AI is they don't know what they don't know. And so just being able to chat of like, this is where I am and this is where I'd like to go, and then getting a bit of validation to say, yeah, AI could help you with that. And just helping them get going on that journey.
I always call that first call the I have to like you as much as you have to like me call. Because I mean, you're selling something that's probably make, I would say, 50% of the population nervous. Because I mean, me and Jen talking AI, it's going to be a one-sided conversation. Me and John talking AI, it's probably still going to be one-sided. Dave's not all the way in there. I'm learning. Like I said, this metaverse use of architecture plans was the first I ever heard of it, but my son's been working on it for 1.5 years, categorizing this and saving all this. He's got houses to go. So it's my ignorance, I guess, to AI and to the possibilities. it's got to be hard to get past that.
Well, we want to be, I'm sorry, John, I'm jumping in, but we always want to be very welcoming. I mean, I have a lot of experience teaching, working with people who are new to technology. And so a big thing we want to say is you don't have to know anything. You just have to be curious.
Yeah.
You just have to be excited about it. Have a little bit of an open mind. If you hear us talking and your reaction is, ooh, AI, I hate that, then yeah, we might not have a great conversation with you. But if you're just like, I don't even know what this is, but it sounds interesting, I want to talk about it, then you will have no problem talking to us.
And we like entrepreneurs. And by entrepreneurs, it can be people in larger organizations too, but with an entrepreneurial spirit, that they're on a small team and they think that their team could have a bigger impact. And so what we talk about is, how can we reach that impact by combining people with what they're best at, with AI and what it's best at. So they're exciting conversations to have with people.
I'm glad you said that. It comes up more than not, John, the ability to tell who an entrepreneur is and isn't. It's almost too easy to tell who is and isn't anymore. So it's really key that you're honing in on those, because there are entrepreneurs hiding in corporations that maybe just haven't had the mindset or the life experience or the kahunas, to make that leap, but they're the ones that'll ruffle feathers up the corporate ladder to make change and bring you guys in. So that's a good, I love that you said that. That's because these guys and gals are hidden everywhere.
We're, one of our upcoming projects will be with a Fortune 500 company that it's an R&D division within the company. And they were looking at how AI can enhance their R&D capabilities. They were essentially looking at it as almost like making an investment in a startup. They're trying to do certain work in environmental science, and how could we help them find a good partner to work with on the AI side? So they had market insight. They knew what they wanted to do. So how can we help them find a startup with certain capabilities? And so together, that entrepreneur within the large company is going to try and drive change within the organization, and we're going to help that.
That's cool. And that's what I was kind of saying just in my terms, but I think this is amazing. I want to know more, the small business, like as we see, is there AI available? I guess this is my question. Exiting COVID, we're all exiting COVID now. We're seeing the larger countries now end mandates and go past. Ontario is now entering our, third step plan, I think, of exit. But is there AI available to these small restaurants, these small businesses that have been affected, to what I think is the biggest problem, let clients know that they're back and what improvements they've made? Is there an outreach AI or the advertisement AI aspect for these restaurants and stuff to get their customers? Because some of these restaurants haven't seen people for 2 years. Like the regular, is there AI available do you think, to help the exit go smoother for these businesses and get back to business?
In terms of the outreach?
Is there smart tech to be able to communicate with those clients and is it integrate into their advertising platforms? All that sense. It was a very large, broad question, but I guess more to the advertising and outreach to customers.
There's definitely for the small business, a lot of the products that are available to them are on this, like the sales and marketing would be a good place to start. So it's dealing with customers. So dealing with customer inquiries, but also there are like smart chatbots that can reach out to your customers, and they say in a polite and persistent manner. So I've actually been approached by these bots, and I thought I was dealing with a real person. So like my question was learning more about the company. And so they took me through an exercise of like, well, would you like this material? Would you like that material? Let me share something with you. And if you want, I can schedule a meeting for you. And so there must have been about a half dozen emails back and forth. And I thought it was a person. And
Wow.
it was only when I showed up in the meeting and Rachel wasn't there, it was somebody else that was there. I'm like, oh, well, where's Rachel? Rachel's a bot. So there's definitely technology in this space that that can, I think, is within the budget of a small enterprise.
I think that's awesome that the AI guy got fooled by
Yeah.
Rachel.
I will say John has been working very closely with AI. You're writing blogs with AIs at the moment as well.
Yeah. If
see, that's a cool. That's what I'm talking about. Like that. If that availability is there, because again, John and Jen, like I think businesses have to reinvent themselves.
Okay.
I don't think we're going back to the advertisement square placemats and plastic menus and Rachel coming to your table to serve you. I think it was the keg. They have the QR code on the side of the booth.
Yeah.
I see that stuff coming. So is that in the restaurant sector? Is that where we're going with AI helping these guys?
I think so.
I think, yeah. I think the restaurant sector is really interesting on that front because they're a good example of where their final end product, food, you can't create that digitally.
Right. No.
It has to be physical. But there's a lot of other pieces that you can start to think of the digital equivalent of them. And I think, like John, I know we were helping a client not that long ago where they were similar. They're like, how do we do more outreach to our potential customers? And a lot of that is in the digital sphere now, right? Like a lot of that is, you're getting outreach on your phone, you're ordering things on your phone, menus are on the phone, all of these things. And so anything that's digital like that has the potential for the.
But blogging and newsletters are avenues of advertisement that everyone has to consider now. And, that's where I think all these small businesses need to go. So John, if you're doing blogs with AI, how's that transpire?
Sure. So there's a couple of things you can do. So if you want to blog, and the first thing you want to know is, well, what should I be writing about? What keywords in order to rank for search engine optimization? Well, AI can help you figure out, use these key terms, like right around this. And then there's one program, for example, called Jarvis. And you start off, right?
Yeah, Iron Man.
And you say, Jarvis, you type in, write a paragraph about the importance of customer service in the restaurant industry, period. And then you just hit a button that says compose, and it will generate a paragraph for you. And if you like it, you hit compose again, and it will generate another paragraph. So it helps you get over the writer's block of like, I don't know how to say this, or if you're not a good writer. So it gets you almost that first draft of what it is that you want to say. And then there's a third one that you can do a check against your blog to say, well, have I used enough keywords? What changes do I need to make in order to improve the quality of my blog? So it's as though you have a search engine marketing company within your own shop. And so Jarvis, which will write for you, is about $50 a month. And you can write 10,000 words, I think, a month.
Which is crazy because, again, you and I could think we're trending and know all those keywords right now, but it's probably, I guess, in the background, it actually knows. It knows the stats that this word is trending, and which is the game that we're all coming out. These restaurants and small businesses need to be trending. You need to know what's hot. You need to like the algorithms behind Facebook alone. That we've been seeing, I've been noticing for about 6 or 7 months that I'm seeing older stuff. And that means they're monkeying around in the background. And the algorithm is either evolving or starting to pick up on things that were trending and are being pulled forward by accident. I'm always a fan of maybe Zuckerberg doesn't realize it's not working right and it's picking, there's human error. It's they always joke, what is it? One semicolon can shut down the whole internet and code if it's in the wrong spot. So I'm always amazed by those. So I think those are avenues that are awesome. So how about we go to the fun side of this? And I know you guys had a story. Who has the story of while I'm on the job, the greatest? Was that you, John?
That was Jen.
Or Jen?
I can roll with that one.
Yeah. John already had Rachel. That made my day. And now it's Jen.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a bit of an amalgam of a few different stories to protect the innocent, but because this does happen on a fairly regular basis. But it will often happen that we'll walk into an organization, and as John says, we tend to be brought in by the strategic side of things, like the CEO or something like that, but we have to meet with other people in the organization. And every once in a while, you walk into the room, and this is sometimes it'll be with the IT team, sometimes it'll be a part of the admin team, where you walk into the room and you just get the sense that they're maybe not as happy to see you as you might have expected. And sometimes they're quite upfront about this. And I'm thinking of a few times when, I walked in and they would sort of say, well, we were told to be at this meeting. So we're here, but we have everything under control. Like, we're doing things very well. We're running everything just fine. You can kind of tell us what's going on with this whole AI thing, but just so you know, that's where we're at. And so we'll sort of be like, okay, and and I've been in this situation, and one of the things I really like to do is I just look at them and I say, well, if you don't need AI, you don't need AI. And then they sort of go, what? What? And we say, look, if AI is going to help you and it's going to help your organization, then that's great. If it isn't, we're going to tell you that. So if you tell us that AI isn't going to help you, then that's great. And then they look at us and they go, well, and this is my favorite part. They look at us and they go, well, you don't actually know what AI is.
Yeah.
And then we go, okay. And so then we said, well, can we tell you what AI is? And then together we can decide if it makes sense. And then usually they kind of go, yeah, okay. Yeah. That's sure. And then off we go. So that's kind of an amalgam of a few specific experiences I have had at work.
And you've both said it a couple times now, that whole, if it isn't for you, I love the reality, because I think as much as we're evolving as businesses, I think I joke all the time that I'm blatantly honest. If you ask Dave a question, Dave's going to answer honestly. I have no filter, and I wear everything on my sleeve. I just find it's easier that way through life. And to be able to tell someone AI is not for you, 20 years ago, people would have thought, okay, well, they think I'm stupid. Like, they would have been offended almost. Whereas today, people are like, oh, I appreciate honesty.
Yeah.
And then it's just, sometimes it's not a right fit. Like, maybe they're happy with their facts.
and sometimes exactly. And that's it exactly. You know what? Like, and sometimes it's we say, well, you love your facts. That's great. It's perfectly integrated into your system, and it's working great for you. And we respect that. How about over here though? Do you really want to, I don't know, like be answering phone calls at 2 a.m. every, when something goes down in your server room, and then they go, no, we hate doing that. And then we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the heart.
Maybe we can talk about that piece then.
That's the heart of every small business owner. Ask them what happens when their server goes down.
Exactly.
In the architect.
And suddenly,
go ahead.
Yeah, the IT people are like, oh, please, we want to talk to you right away.
For us in our architecture world, it's when you get a new computer. That is a nightmare, because AutoCAD, we set up all the macros, and Autodesk really hasn't, well, I'm sure they know how, but they haven't given it to us, how to merge properly. You can't really merge I think even Windows does it now. Can't you just migrate? I think is the term, migrate settings. Autodesk does not migrate settings. So when we get a new computer, it's because we rode the one to the grave. Like,
I'm actually personally like that as well.
Oh,
so
it's a nightmare. That, yeah. So we just did new computers over Christmas here at the office. And of course, the first week back, the phones are busy and it's a nightmare with the computers. They're not working. They're
cranky. You've got cranky computers.
It's just don't touch my computer. It's one of those things they dread. So maybe people are just don't touch my fax. It works. I bought a lifetime supply of rolls paper.
Exactly. This is my fax. This is my closet of fax paper.
Yeah.
It will not be disturbed.
So we've done awesome. We're just coming up on an hour, guys. John, where do we go from here for the business model and kind of as your send off to the small businesses and entrepreneurs that are listening that have now been intrigued, which anyone that's not intrigued at this point with both of you, and I commend you both for making AI and the discussion comfortable for me because it's not my realm. You did a superb job. John, where do we go and what's kind of that pitch now towards on getting in touch with you and what are the next steps? Just in general from there. If we missed anything to add in.
The easiest thing to do is to go to our website, which is aiguides.co. So .co, not .com. So aiguides.co. And on there's an ability to just book an appointment with us. We also have some resources on the website. So we have a little directory. So if you want to do a little bit of browsing and education on your own, what we do is we promote or we share different AI services that are available to you. So you can go through and if you're able to find something without having to call us, then that's great. But what we're really trying to do is raise awareness and raise education for people so that they start to see those possibilities. And then when they're ready for a conversation, reach out. And the first one is free. And if you think it might be for you, then we'd love to have a chat about de-risking your decision around what makes sense for you. And that's it.
Jen, anything to add?
No, I think that captures it really well. We're just looking forward to talking to people.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And like I said, you guys have done a stand-up job. I think it was a great conversation. I've enjoyed myself and I've actually learned some stuff. I'm glad I was able to keep up. So John, I assume I'll be talking to Rachel when I message the...
Yeah, absolutely. She's fantastic.
She won't be at the meeting.
Once you agree on a time, Rachel will loop me in.
Yeah. Yeah, she won't be at the first meeting, right?
No. But I'll be there.
Awesome, guys. Well, I greatly appreciate you reaching out. I look forward to chatting further. And I will say, we've got a few weeks before the podcast comes out. I mean, get us information on those webinars and we'll promote them throughout so that hopefully by the time everything gets going, people are aware of who you are, and we'll drum up some information about AI guides and support you the best we can, which is what we do.
Super. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah.
Fun chat.
Yeah. Awesome. So thanks again. And we'll have all your contact information and we'll keep you posted on the episode, guys.
For more information on AI Guides, please visit aiguides.co or contact them at 613-558-7732 or John at aiguides.co.